Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with a 3-time and current world champion and widely considered to be the greatest player of all time. The Zerg in the red, the finisher. It's Serral. Facing off against by far his greatest rival, the rank 1 Terran in the world. In the blue, we have Clem. In a best of 7 Terran versus Zerg semi-finals to Pig's $10,000 Pigsty Festival number 7. And before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. That'd be kind of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what do we have? 1,821 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As the first Reaper comes in and somewhat taken aback by the fact that Serral is so forward. As Clem, with a tendency to be absolutely infuriating and inspiring with literally every single early game unit. Not just the Reaper, but the first SCV. He had the scouting SCV patrolling to block the obvious choice for a third base. And on this map, there's no easy alternative. But Serral says we play Zerg not because it is easy, but because we seem to win a lot more often, or something like that. I think that's the quote. As just goes right down the center. And, well, obviously the Reaper will scout it, and we'll have to see if that creates more trials and tribulations, or maybe more opportunity. Though it's odd to say going in that Serral is the underdog. But it's true. Since 2024, looked it up beforehand, Serral has won 3 out of their last 15 contests. And I believe before this match at least, he's lost the last 4 in a row. Maybe 5? And it hasn't been a clean sweep. Many of them, like 4-3, 4-2, something like that. Very close, but with Clem getting the better end of things. And, well, I think Serral has to try something different, which sounds a little odd. But it's not nearly even lately, so. Well, the Hellions just casually strolling by as the Queens. It does create a bit of an awkward situation with the Queens spread in on 2 different levels, trying to defend the creep on either side. A couple Queens and half a dozen Zerglings are usually enough to box out the Hellions, but there's a lot more ground to cover. And back at home, of course, Clem with 3 command centers. He's got the 111, the barracks, the factory, the starport. So it looks like he's going to have 1 less Hellion. He's got the Destiny Cloud Fist build. Is what I heard it called in some sort of fever dream, but... And essentially the reason why Zerg is almost always forced, or at least heavily encouraged, to play defense early. As the only anti-air reliably is the Queens, which, even with this forward base and the creep spread already stretching nearly halfway across the map, is still a long way off from being able to attack across. So Serral will be building up the drone count and trying to minimize losses, while Clem tries to keep as much control as possible, keep the creep spread at bay, and if he can pick off a drone or 2 there, force out some more Zerglings, well, I'm not sure he's going to complain. Though he is Terran, so... Banshee, no Cloak yet, and Serral has to assume that Cloak will finish. Even did he get an Overlord across? In fact, only had the first scouting Overlord and pulled back to a pervert pillar over here, a high ground that only air units could spot for, which I think can see units at least rallying across down the center. Well, the Hellions poking and prodding. Serral's already got 58 drones and counting. He just finished his lair. Vaneling nest on the way. No evolution chamber. I started that sentence and there are no evo chambers. And now, well, the Queens. And, oh, a little bit too far out. The Queen's taking a lot of damage. The Spore Crawler not quite in range at all. 1 Queen gets assassinated by the Frenchman. Another revolutionary tactic out of him, but for now, 1 Queen is much better than half a dozen drones. 1 Queen is much better than forcing your drones to a mineral line where they can get roasted. 1 Queen is painful, but manageable. And that's why Serral has so many of them. He's got multiple control groups for his Queens, both for injects and for defense. You know what? For pretty much everything. They wear a lot of hats. Almost all of them. But infestation pit on the way. He's not going swarm host, as hilarious as it would be. This is a hive rush, right? Like, so now this isn't the fastest you could get an infestation pit, but I think against Clem, without being outright suicidal, or at least recklessly so, it's about the fast. Assuming he starts a hive immediately when the infestation pit finishes, Clem is going to have an upgrade advantage. He's much more focused on the Marine and Siege tank production. He's going to hit that timing attack sort of style. And already, the Overlord spotted this. I don't even think Clem realized the Overlord's there. But Serral has had the warning. There was a little supply block with 5 OPs on the way. The hive begins 7 minutes in. Obscenely quick. And if Clem doesn't know about it, it could very well come back to bite him. Speaking of biting in the back, though, Lings and Banes are set up for the surround. Combat shield is not done. He delayed it for this push, and the Banelings crash in for both sides! And, oh wow. Clem collapsed upon. The Banelings exploding all over him, and not in a fun way, as he actually ends up losing the majority of his Marines. Clem, in an uncharacteristic mistake, looking kind of shell-shocked there. Usually he manages to pick up enough Marines to fill up the medevacs and force the Zerglings to chase, but at this stage of the game, the Zerg having a supply lead, especially considering it's kind of, this style is much like the Brood War Zerg. All right, Grandpa. Just, where you actually aren't expected to have more supply than the Terran. The Lings and Banes are not very heavy on it. The production isn't quite there to spam them out, so the fact that Serral's up by 10, has 82 drones, he's trying to hold on to his 4th base, but the Banshees are combining. The Queens will knock out one of the Banshees, but forces a cancel. Meanwhile, the few survivors of the fateful attack down the center. The hive is done. The Queens, could you not? I don't... Struggling to maneuver in behind the mineral line with no creep, but the Zerglings. Serral behind it. And Ultralisk Cavern, as well as Adrenal Glands. Hive tech coming online. No Vipers in production. But the Ultras, the full battering ram style of Zerg, which is honestly a little on the rarer side for Serral. It can be incredibly effective. But until the Ultras get chitinous plating, and ideally their speed upgrade as well, they're kind of more paperless than anything. So we'll see when Serral actually decides to build them. He's trying to box out with Lingbane for now, but Clem is peaking. He's going to have 2-2 upgrades. Actually, Serral kind of caught up. Looks like the armory, or at least the armory timing, was a little bit slower. A fungal comes out. Widow Mines, though, returning some fire. The siege tank's surrounded and taken down. But the Widow Mines up to the task of thinning out the Lings and Banes, and Clem takes a slight supply lead. He's got his 4th base now landed. Planetary Fortress on the way, trying to chase it down. Not quite enough energy for another fungal. Picks off a few more Banelings, and the medevacs will go forward. Trying to bait this out. Turns it around again. And a fungal could prevent them from... Pulled the rug out from under him. Pulling out the football at the last second. Well, the drops, the Queens, will politely yet firmly ask those medevacs to leave. Not that Terrans are one to abide by any social conventions. Precarious position back there. And, well, chitinous plating is on the way. A few more Zerglings taken out by mines. Another group headed north. The M&M, the Marines, the Marauders, the Mines, the medevacs. The Widow Mines connecting, but Serral actually manages to defuse them. Unfortunately, one Widow Mine ends up connecting on an Infestor, which is some real value. But boxing out to the right side, despite the minimal creep. And deflecting on the left. So far, Serral. Oh no, but right down the center. Well, there had to be somewhere that was a weak point. And apparently directly down the center. A quick Widow Mine drop. Whoa! The trail of mines leaving Zerg tears throughout the map. And that definitely cuts into Serral's counterattack potential. His supply didn't dip much, but he has to replace those Zerglings. Which, not something done super easily. He does have 100 Zerglings on the field. But Clem has 116 army supply. He's got Liberators now. Has he seen the hive? No, but it's kind of implied. There's only really one reason that he's only seen a few Infestors and a bunch of Lingbane. There's no Hydras. There's no Corruptors or Mutas. It's Ultras. All right, he saved up his gas. In fact, Serral still hasn't built any Ultras. He's getting a Spire. He's holding to the last moment. The Infestor! At the Widow Mines. Oh, don't look. Oh, the Zerganity. And we catch the aftermath of what seems to be a whole lot of Lings, Banes, and Marines all dying simultaneously. Clem, not able to make much progress, but again, the best defense is oftentimes a good offense. He's kept Serral off his bases, off his back, at least for quite a while. But finally, Serral has found something of an opening to keep him at bay. Ultralisk now in production. Serral waiting until he has all the fixins. None of those silly, sad, non-speed Ultralisk. So many players actually forget the speed upgrade as well, which on creep allows you to close the distance with the Marines and Marauders. And it's okay off creep as well, but, you know, not as great. Oh no. Terrible, terrible damage being done by the Widowmines. The Banshee is still alive, and the Marines and Marauders still driving things back. But Serral has held across the board. And now Clem is forced into a more long-winded unit composition, though very notably, no Ghost Academy. He's playing the ghostless late-game style, which means he's now kind of locked into it. One does not simply go ghosts when you're dealing with Ultras. You have to have at least twice as many as they have Ultras. Otherwise, you might as well just go on Marine and Marauder and try to overwhelm them with micro and momentum. Maru, we've seen do it on frequent occasion. Clem tries it out as well, though I think less likely to be committed to it. We've got chitinous plating already completed. Advanced ballistics on the way. Nidus network for Serral, which is less common. Usually you see the Nidus network almost exclusively for the lurkers. But, I mean, if he can get Zerglings into the main, it can't hurt. I mean, it can't hurt his chances of winning. It's definitely going to hurt the Terrans, which is the goal. Meanwhile, an Infestor catches some with a Fungal. Another one at the front. But wait, there's more! It's Serral unburls the Infestor out of nowhere. And that last one at the back holds him down. He chews him up. The Serral Fester that you least expect. Waiting for its moment, though. Its moment came very quickly. Sometimes, you know, you're just born for it. Always make sure to use your lumbar support Infestors. Or else you'll get the back pain I keep talking about. Grandpa. Ooh. Casual Widowmine hit. Takes out another dozen Zerglings. How many have died so far? Take a guess. Did you say 413? Because I did, and I was wrong. It's 331. I didn't. We're not counting Banelings. And honestly, counting Banelings is a little bit confusing because of the Banelings not showing up in units lost when they attack. Though they still show up on resources lost. Very relevant. When they attack, they succeed. When you think about it. Meanwhile, the Ultras... So Serral has battle groups of units on either side. He's got Ultras, Lings, and Banes. I can't stress how difficult this actually is to pull off for Zerg. And it remains to be seen if Serral can do so. Fungal, but the Venn diagram of freedom is liberating everything underneath. He's just going to give up this base. And the Nidus just goes unchecked, unpaid attention to. Finally, the Zerglings come spewing out of it. Another Nidus in the main base, but the Zerglings chewing through some of the SCVs. So that may actually help out Clem by allowing him some more army supply for a time. He burrows and deals with the Nidus in the main base. I doubt there's anything coming out of that. Took out the hatchery, but Serral's expanded to the bottom right corner. He left everything that could be left behind here. Clearly, Clem a bit strained. As all these Widow Mines and the Liberators, he's defusing the minefield, tries to escape, but Clem leaves most of his entrenched units behind. And, well, they will be cleaned up. It won't be easy, but getting rid of those units and forcing them to kind of reset the count is certainly helpful. As Serral's been mixing in some Corruptors, Liberators do technically have an anti-air attack, as they're demonstrating so graciously for us here. And, well, this is awkward. Clem angling for the bottom right corner, but Serral about to be acutely aware of it. Another Nidus at the back. There's some reinforcements rallying to the main. Ooh. Ultralisk just exploderated by the combined fire. Meanwhile, the burrowed Zerglings, I don't think he spotted them. The Nidus in the main was taken out, but there's still a bunch of Zerglings at the third base. 9 drones dead. Serral's re-expanded. The hatchery is taken down. And another Nidus. The Zerglings unburrow. Clem scrambles back to defend, pulls his army off the map in order to deal with it. And a Ghost Academy is halfway done. Which means Clem, he doesn't feel like he can keep the momentum up. Serral just keeps grabbing bases on either side of the map, and he can't seem to knock out enough of them. He can't seem to slow down Serral's army. And Serral is not limiting his options. He's got +1, he's already got +2 flyer attack for his Congress of Corruptors over here. And +1 Carapace is on the way. Which means if he does decide to go Brood Lords, they at least will have some of their fixins. Though no Greater Spire on the way yet. Honestly, Brood Lords are more of a anti-siege tank mechanism. Against this sort of army, they're probably a liability. Though, we'll see as time goes on and the tech goes up. Neural Parasite is on the way. The Corruptors, a bit optimistic, outflanked by missile turrets. As Clem, how many command centers? He's got 5 orbital commands, which is still a finite amount of commands. Once you get to double digits, as Maru has shown us, you can effectively just scan like it's the Costco checkout aisle. The entire quadrant. The entire sector. Because 5 orbital commands is enough to have a scan at all times. If you stagger them perfectly, which, you know, people don't. But that doesn't leave you much energy for mules, or really anything else you might need. But 7 or 8, which he's going up to, means that really no infestor should go unscanned as time goes on. Like, why not build a Raven? Well, that Raven will die on first contact with looking at any of the Corruptors, so... The infestors live and die by the infestors for both sides. The Ultra, that infestor has full energy. The Ghost whips out the EMPs, gets 2 hits on it, but the Planetary Fortress is a decent enough target. The Banelings will neutralize it with their acid, the base crumbling easily. Microbial Shroud is on the way, begging the question of whether Serral's just pressing all the buttons. Certainly has the money to do so. That's what we pay him for. I mean, at least some amount. Another infestor trying to avoid the spotting of the worm sign there, which, because of Serral explicitly, is much more visible than it once was. Though still is something you have to be looking for. And Clem not really staggering his steps to avoid drawing them. That one infestor at the back is forcing this army to stutter step kind of almost desperately. And the Ghost goes down at the start of the fight. And the Ultras are closing in. The Widowmine ends up just hitting some Overseers. And so far, Clem keeping it together. But Serral's bank, the economic weight of Serral's army and these constant trades, Clem has yet to build up that ghost count. Right now he has the ghost count that Blizzard does, which is 0. Though constantly reviving them and trying to make it a thing, but we'll ever see if it gets past pre-orders. You guys have phones, right? Look forward to that. You can like and subscribe on your phone. And Nidus at the very back. A single burrowed ling, the source of it. But from the darkness, the worm. I mean, the Zerglings are killing a ghost. Honestly, trading 20 lings for a ghost would still be a decent one. The Ultra's chewing through. The Infestor at the back holds it down, but Serral's still struggling to close the distance. The Planetary's holding. And only 2 SCVs pulled off. It's still enough. But Serral will plummet to 200 supply. 60 Zerglings, 2 more Ultras, and some Banes in production. There might be a moment. The Fungals, he just targets the Ultra, though. The Changelings to box him in to limited success. But Clem is dwindling. He doesn't have the money. He doesn't have the units. And he doesn't have the motivation. Serral cleaves through with a hive tech rush and just simply refuses to be stopped. 1, 2, 3 bases knocked out. He canceled a few more. But Serral kept all the momentum. Clem never got a foothold. And when he did, the banelings came rolling in. A masterclass out of Serral. Well, how the turntables have turned. I did not expect the mid to late game to be going to Serral. It's weird, but nowadays it feels like Clem just gets all the momentum. It's almost impossible to take it back. But Serral kept the initiative from pretty much start to finish. And a clean and, well, it's kind of the Serral we're used to seeing, eh? We'll see. Game 2, Tidal Citadel. Clem sent out an SCV, and I had some interesting feelings about that. But it's just going to be a Reaper build, I assume. It doesn't have to be, but if you're going to build the barracks at the front, 84.33 repeating, of course, % chance of Reapers. So let's see if Clem has anything new to bring to the table. Serral just, I wouldn't say that was something completely new. The rush to hive, the willingness to take the front base, but he just didn't make any mistakes. Clem made a couple. Like, Clem lost the first group of Marines with the first 2 medevacs. And that is sometimes enough. It's not like he didn't trade, but just the fact they didn't exist anymore and he couldn't use them to keep pressure on gave Serral a little bit more breathing room. And if you give him enough oxygen, well, he's like a house fire. He's going to burn yours down. Then he's going to move on to the next. That made sense. Hatch first. It's at least 3 Reapers here, only 1 gas. It's still a valid build, it checks out. And with Clem's handling of Reapers can sometimes be obscenely effective. See how many he ends up going for. I gotta say, the constant... So, trying to play, not really whack-a-mole, more like whack-a-fly. Because those Marines and medevacs are like a fly that lands on your plate when you're trying to eat a Costco hot dog. Will Costco sponsor me at this point? They don't sponsor anyone. That's why we love them. Moving on. And you go to smack it. It just picks up and flies away. And then comes back around, keeps buzzing. And that's... Oh, that's... I guess mosquitoes might be a more accurate sort of metaphor. But that's what dealing with medevacs is like. And again, the reason you don't usually see the corruptors very early, Serral managed to get a few out and keep the pressure, kind of relieve the pressure somewhat, is corruptors and mutas do not kill Marines. I'd be like, mutas can attack. No, they don't kill Marines. All right. Vipers can help, but they're expensive. They slow down your tech. So, careless, insubordinate. Would you, Brenda, could you calm? No, I'm not calling. I'm calling up. Doesn't even make sense. I'm not telling you this. Sorry, hang on. Like, the Queen's getting bullied by the Reapers. Serral does manage to get a third. Actually, doubles back, pump fakes the grenade. But the Reapers coming in again, and this is a jump location to the third, but speed is done. He might be able to grab one on the way out. No. But wait, he knows the Zerglings are coming. Grenade is... Oh my. Oh, wow. He's got to... Oh, that Reaper gets caught on the other side, gets one. And there should... Well... Ugh. Did you die? Can he jump to the watchtower area? I think so. But Serral... Oh, Clem! Caught him between the trees here. I think he had every... I'm like 60% sure that you could jump down there. Is there a little gap? There might be a little gap. All right, I'd like to revise that to about 30%. So, ends up losing the Reapers. He already did enough. And the Zerglings are on the other side of the map. 2 queens. He's gonna go for the Evo block. It's way too late. Hellions lining up some shots, but the queens are able to knock out one. The Zerglings will chew on another. Couple more Hellions into the third, but Clem losing track of it here. Trying to micro one set. And Serral, again, just... Now this is looking like the Serral that Zerg players both are inspired by and desperately hope never shows up again. The Serral who just simply doesn't miss, all right? Even if he takes damage, it's a trade. If he loses a few drones, he builds even more. And right now, the fact that he has 55 drones against 42 SCVs, and Clem doesn't really have much more aggressive potential in the near future. Like, Serral's just he's gonna get 60 drones, he's gonna get his lair, his 4th base is on the way. He's got a stew going. Clem's gonna try to follow up with the double medevac. I mean, he's not gonna try, he's going to succeed. But can it really get enough done? Well, it really depends. How greedy does Serral get? There's no 3rd base. Will he even build any more drones past this point when he finally gets those overlords? Or does he just spam Zerglings? Because the overlord got in, it spotted most of this timing. 62 drones is full saturation, knocks it out. And the queens will shut everything down. A Liberator is taken out of the sky. The Hellions dismantled and through all the fire, and I'm assuming Terran Fury so far. Clem, again, like, every time one of these attacks gets undercut, makes the next one more and more risky. Doubles back, playing a ring around the little random plateau here. But eventually the Zerglings will close in. The Zergling at the watchtower, diligently standing by. Infestation Pit is he somehow going to get a quicker hive? And Serral? He built 10 more drones, but he still has 22 Zerglings is not enough here, by the way. Though the queens kind of fudge those numbers. Does he have a Bane Nest? No. Skipping the Bane Nest, but this is a dangerous attack out of Clem. The high ground is no object. As... the queens again, the monarchy, falling at the hands of the Frenchmen. This is restricted lair space! You can't be... Brenda? The Zerglings will surround the queens, actually splitting. And so far, Serral, a double drops in the main, but oh, the infestors have arrived. He spots it in time, but honestly might be able to get that medevac. Oh, dodges the fungal. And somehow... Yeah, don't come back. Tell your friends what happened here. Susan, they're Terrans. You know they don't have friends. 1, true, Brenda. And 3, calm down. What was 2? Too much from you. I don't... 3 more racks. But Clem, once again, finds himself in a similar scenario. He's got a good army. He's got a lot of production. He hasn't really been delayed back at home. But Serral, with the Ultralisk Rush. Okay, it's... I'd like to pull back. Ultralisk, more like Hive Tech. Ooh, I love these Hellbats. Serral gonna try to get this around. The SCVs actually doing a good job of mucking things up. Meanwhile, down the center, Clem's combat shield is way late. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, we forgot combat shield. I mean, it's not too far delayed, but clearly, the fact he doesn't have combat shield here is disastrous. That makes the fungals a lot more effective. They do 25 damage per cast. Marines without combat shield have 45 HP. 55 with it. That means if they stim, well, the medevacs are there, but they're stressed. The siege tanks at the watchtower in quite a position, but the Zerglings spreading over the kind of disjointed wall drags out the Widow Mine. The Hellbats, so diligently repaired by the SCVs, will just wander out and die. SCVs wondering why they even bother at all. Meanwhile, Serral already thinking he's got the gold base halfway done, but Clem has successfully kept the pressure on. But 3 Ultralisks are nearly complete. Chitinous plating isn't there yet. Big Daddy List will have to wait. But against just Marines, with maybe a siege tank or two, the Ultras still have some opportunities, especially with the Infestors right behind. Clem's just, he sees there's no chitinous plating, he's trying to go forward, and he actually forces the, why are the Infestors there? He goes forward, he gets 1, 2, the third one throws it out, but honestly a worthy trade. The Zerglings cut down by the Widow Mines. The chitinous plating not done, and Clem takes about as good a trade as you could ever dream of. With just Marines and like a siege tank or two against Ultras. He's now building 4 Marauders at a time, a couple Widow Mines, and a couple Liberators. The anti-Ultralist composition is coming together. It's going to be the Ghostless bio yet again. But, well, yeah, Serral without as comfortable an economy. But the fact he's money, Clem doesn't know. What he doesn't know could certainly hurt him. At least the results of it. The Widow Mines trying to drag shots in, actually splashes across the medevacs. He does it again. But still, the Widow Mines doing terrible, terrible damage to the Zerglings. So far, so many Zerglings. How many? Take a guess. Did you say 238? You'd be wrong, because it was 251. Much closer that time. Yes, we're going to keep doing this, so keep track. It's fun for me. That's what matters. Oh, the Infestor around the corner shows up. Hello, goodbye. Revolving door for the Marines and Marauders. There's a couple Infestors behind, holds them down. Still, the Liberators holding the line. But the Ultras have already cut past it. The chitinous plating, allowing them to weather all this, but even a drone in the mix and giving more than enough respect to Clem's micro that even though he has 4 Ultras, he's going to retreat. But the Infestors will spot this beforehand. He holds down the Marauders. Meanwhile, though, Clem jammed into the back of the mineral line. And more Ultras. Serral taps out. Clem tearing him apart. Ooh, that just kind of abruptly ended. As that's the problem. Well, that's the struggle with playing this sort of composition. If you ever lose momentum to the bio, their bio will beat yours. In game number 1, he had the Infestors. He had the map, he had the economy. This time around, even though Clem lost so much, he kept Serral busy for long enough. So, the Clempire strikes back. We're all tied up. 1-1. God, it's so good. That's the risk. This time around, or last time around, Serral never got the Spire. He never had the anti-air. Honestly, we're going to boil it down to 2 medevacs again. Those 2 medevacs that Serral caught in the main and were like 3 queen hits away from dying, but didn't, kept so much of the army anchored back towards the northern side that he kept not being able to commit enough. And that gave Clem a lot of extra momentum. 15 hatch out of Serral. So, that's super notable. I'm reasonably sure that he did not do something quite this early in the previous games. It leaves you with 3 larvae in the early game. Like, he did an Overlord. It isn't the quickest possible hatch, but it's up there. So, you almost never, unless you know exactly what you're doing, you don't want to have 3 larvae in the early game. By the way, Clem doing the mineral acceleration trick literally learned from AI. Like, the scripting AI, not whatever chat bullshit. He is shift clicking his SCVs right next to the mineral patch and then slapping them into it. which reduces the time of the workers slowing down that last split second. Because the workers get close to the mineral patch and they're just like, whoa, watch out. But technically, they don't need to do that. So while you only have one worker on a patch, you could actually speed up the mining by several percentage points if you do the shift acceleration, which removes that momentum. So what I'm trying to say is do not try this at home. Like, literally just Clem and literally just the first minute of the game. That is when we see that. Max Pax does it too. Serral, I think, occasionally partakes, but makes a little more sense as Terran has the least workers early on, so they, for the longest time, have the least mining on their patches. But if you do it perfectly and never mess up, you can gain maybe 10, 15 minerals within the first few minutes. And, you know, that's something. It adds up. Again, I'm not even convinced it does that much, but there's a reason why the AIs, like the probots with 25,000 APM, are doing it. Because, especially with one worker on the mineral patches. Alright? The more you know. Now you can sound really smart to your friends who stopped playing StarCraft 2 14 years ago. And you're like, no, I know what I'm talking. We both know you stopped 5 years ago, but you know, that still makes you better than them. That's what's important. Like and subscribe if you agree. That is an obscenely quick whip. What is this? Three-minute lair. And he's gonna take a third. Which is still late. That third base is still late. Alright, and Clem's like, you know what? Let me take a look. Alright, he's gonna get in. Is it Mutas? He's getting 2 more gas. I guess a Nidus is kind of on the table? This isn't for rushing Hive. He's not going to have the economy. I guess, like, getting 2 Ultras, even if they get their upgrades, is nothing in the relatively early game. The Overlords are kind of hanging out, rarely. Being real weird. Creepy, if you would. Back at home. It's going to be Banshees, no cloak. Hydralisk Den? In this economy? Sorry. So there's a Venn diagram. There are things. And then there's this. Is this the thing? Hydralisk Rush? This is like Hero playing. I mean, he's up against... Clem's going to have a bunch of Marines. He's getting Carapace. Serral only has 48 drones. He's adding a few more. This isn't even all in. I guess those Overlords were hanging out for a reason, though I'm not 100% convinced. Might be able to pick off some drones. There's a whole bunch of Zerglings still. The Queen of the Main! Oh, it's just Terran, all right? The Hatchery Owner Association meetings are going to be much quieter now. See? Look. Good luck. Oh, Brenda, I don't... 7 Hydras with range. I think for the first time in many years, maybe not years, months, if the title says new strategy, it's not arguably lying. Okay, of course we get into the pedantry of any strategy not used for like 3+ months is technically new in the meta, even if it isn't like completely. There are no undiscovered strategies. Or are there? Because Serral, this is like a, maybe Rex did this. Rex, well known, he loves Hydras, and he's very good at annoying players in like the round of 16 of tournaments, though rarely getting further because these strategies, once they get figured out. But I feel like, okay, so this, the day before this, if you haven't already watched it, spoilers, go watch it right now. It is insanely worth it. And honestly, it's not much of a spoiler anyway. Maru versus Serral was the previous match in this tournament. All right, and Serral lost to Maru 4-2. And at no point did this strategy come up. The next day, we're here in the semifinals. What is this? He's got 22 Hydras. He didn't pull out that strategy once against Maru. So either he's just freestyling or he's waited until it mattered most. But this map is okay. The combat shield is incredibly delayed. Clem's been doing that over and over. The siege tanks and the Hydra concave. It just works, TM. 3 Gs out of Clem. And he just wins in 7 minutes and 20 seconds with Hydra. What? And Clem didn't really make any big mistakes. It's just hard countered. Hydras? Rumors of Hydra's demise seem to have been greatly exaggerated. In this specific scenario, +1 Carapace helping out a lot against the tanks. The fact that... I need to know. I don't think by the time you see this video, I'll be able to ask Serral what this is. Well, we have to see the rest. All right, we'll see if he can make it. I desperately want to see it again, but it feels like one of those surprise hydralisks, like it's the cinematics in every cinematic in StarCraft 2. You're like, well, there's that one where the hydralisk doesn't pop out of nowhere, and which one is that? Which one? Which one? I don't know. But Serral, with legitimately one of the most original Zerg builds, especially from Serral. Is he doing another 15 hatch? I'd love to see it again. For so many reasons. All right, we're boiling down here. It's just... It's 15. Well, this isn't quite 15, but a little greedier. We won't know until the third base timing. I guess a layer at 3 minutes is. So, and I'm sorry. I've done this for a while. All right. Hopefully, well, if you just joined us, amazing. Thank you. If you've been here, hopefully I've made plenty of your days a little bit better. So, I'd like to think, in many ways, my job is easy. Because I've watched a lot of games, played even more. I've got a pretty good idea. And honestly, to the point where I don't even remember most of what I say during the first 5-6 minutes. I can let you know what's going on because it doesn't change that often. That's just how the game works. Like, the things are pretty well figured out. Every unit, the place it fits in the meta, in the mind games, and what you can get out of it are pretty well figured out. Players like Clem and Serral get a lot more out of certain units, but it's not like they have their own unique builds. It's just they're much better at the ones that it seems like most people maybe take from them, but I desperately want him to do it again. I need... There's going to be a quick third. Serral, just enough for speed. Okay. It's not going to be the Hydra Rush. That might be a one and done. The drone. The Queen is actually quite delayed. And multiple Reapers coming across. This is going to get troublesome. The Reaper's poking at the third. More on the way. He's going to commit to at least 4. 2 command centers behind, of course, of course. And no second gas. So, quite a commitment here from Clem. Wait, he's continuing to build him up. Four Reapers, and I'm trying to sneak up on them. I don't... With those legs, Brenda. Don't be jealous. And then... Bouncing the Queens around, Zergling speed 10 seconds out. I'm sure Clem knows this is stock standard 330 Zergling speed. He's got 5 Reapers. Zergling speed is done. There's not enough Lings to confidently engage this, but with some... Well... It's an absolute disaster. He just ripped him apart. Clem! Caught and killed. He dug too deep and too greedily. If he had stayed off the creep, just at the edge and danced, kiting back. But now Serral has all the initiative. He has a 3rd base up. It wasn't delayed. It's bruised and will be indefinitely pretty much. But he can't even... He has 4 Marines. He has a 3rd Rex behind. Clearly taking... Clem taking a build from his metaphorical father beyond, who pioneered building just Reapers and then Marines throughout most of his games, and still does, by the way, like to mostly success against most people not named Serral. But this is a horrible feeling as Terran, by the way. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if in a latter game Clem would have just left. Because right now, Serral with full map control, he's going to have, in fact, an upgrade advantage. There's no way for Clem to know without scanning, which also cuts into his economy. So there's no way for Clem to know if Serral's massing units, like Roach Ling even, and has enough to easily surround and kill him. But Clem really only has one option, which is to play like Serral can't touch you. Like, you just take the 3rd, you build the medevacs, and you completely lean on your micro. Because if you play like a coward, you will lose. You will die. Serral will be able to react. He has a better economy, he has map control. You have to project strength. And then maybe that can translate into actual strength. I'm sure Sun Tzu said something like that. He said, when lose Reapers, make Marine and then fly around like a mosquito, stinging as much as possible. Which, you know, loose translation. The Marines are just walking across, which is optimistic. Oh, these are gonna... Well, you might get the 4th base. The Zerglings, but the Queens are... Yeah, he can't really decide what he wants. The Zerglings are just threatening the idea here. If you could bait out another stim or two, those Marines aren't making it home. Oh, he shoots one of them. It was thinking about deserting. But that certainly doesn't help. The Zergling count should be high enough momentarily. Another stim, but he's just going to get this around. And, well, the Marines... Ah, what's the count? How many Zerglings lost? Did you say 58? Not there. The answer was 37. Let's see. Zerg bias. Maybe a little early on that one. The Queens still have plenty of energy, and +1 Carapace is incredibly helpful. He's now getting Baneling speed on the way. Clem has 62 SCVs, and he's still building more. And, well, most of the main weaknesses here have been shored up. Those Marines keeping more control of the situation than I expected. And Clem punching out SCVs. There's a... Hey, boys, in the pipe, 5x5. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? All right. Bunch of Marines in autumn colors. Gotta go to rehab. Instead, they're just gonna keep edging the creep. The Zerglings. So he went through a time warp. Now, It's a very brittle position for Clem. Which is what I was slowly meandering my way to, just like these queens, but he doesn't have that sort of massive wall-off. He doesn't have the infrastructure. He's one mediocre fight away from total disaster. If he doesn't have perfect micro on all the drops and on the defense, and even then, Serral still has the advantage. He's got the 2-2 upgrades halfway done. An infestation bit has yet to start, but an armory isn't even completed. So Clem's 2-2 is going to be almost a full upgrade behind, which is unheard of. Six dropper lords on the way. A bold move. But, well, Serral, his supply is not as healthy as you might think. Though, again, the upgrades are going to factor in his favor. The drops to the south. Serral didn't actually leave many units down here. Gonna lose a couple drones. Stutter steps through the spore. Might actually be able to get the hatch. Jams himself into the corner. Takes the more obvious targets. The Zerglings. +2 carapace is done. They'll expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers. Marines left behind, but Serral still no infestation pit. The dropper lords are loaded up. He's just going to try to slide around the right flank into the main base. As Clem is now getting his third, or fourth base rather. Very important distinction. Fourth base is a much bigger step. Though I doubt he's going to be expecting this, and is there any vision before it gets into the main? And there's a chance he unloads without it being spotted. Serral sliding along the edge of the force field, coating the mothership. The Zerglings headed north. The rest of the Zerglings and the Overlords, and here comes Serral. He wants to collapse on absolutely all of this. The drop into the main base. The Zerglings at the front, boxing out the drops. Serral is maxed out. No hive this time. He's looking to kill him here. And now, the main base is gutted. The siege tanks overrun. The banelings roll through. The main is gone. Pulls back with the brunt of his army, but still enough banelings to swing his weight around. Your mother getting a little bit jealous. 10 SCVs dead. The siege tanks gutted, and the base is gone. GG! Serral goes to match point. Just completely cores out the main. There's no hope of recovery without the production, without the upgrades. There is no hope. And Serral, for the first time, I don't know what the scores have been, but for the first time in quite a while, looking like the favorite in this particular matchup. Specifically Clem versus Serral, not Serral versus Terran. I do want to, I guess Maru's on the list, but wow. That game, more one-sided than a Mobius strip there, and he went for the draw, again, hitting the timing. I want the Hydra build again. But instead, we get Winter Madness. And also the map, Winter Madness. Little extractor trick. Try to pop out and make sure you use the larva as quick as possible. So, just in case this is your first time watching or you haven't noticed why before, notice Serral at 15 out of 14 supply. Whenever a drone gets promoted / punished by becoming a building, that supply is removed, as the drone is no longer a unit. So, in that moment, you have one less, and you can build another unit. And then if you cancel it, the drone's back. And that's why you get the extra supply. Occasionally, people will take it to the extreme with, like, spore crawlers or whatever the cheapest option is, which is spores or evo chambers, but spores are more usable. To, say, build 10, 15 spores, build usually, like, corruptors or infestors, and then cancel them to get 215 or so supply. Now, the downside is when you cancel a building, you only get 3/4 of the money. So it does cost you a few minerals. You can't just keep, even if you had infinite APM, it wouldn't necessarily be worth it. But in specific scenarios and timings, like apparently for Serral, in getting the early hatchery and continuing to have larva usage, which you don't want to slow down on, it's worth it. Occasionally we'll see it to like pop out a queen in the early game or something, especially if an overlord gets sniped off. But so far, Serral looking like the heavy favorite. Not even just slightly, but the only game being when Clem actually... honestly, Taito Citadel didn't even feel... It felt even right up until Clem just won. But otherwise, it's been all Serral pretty much all the time. I'll see. If enough people are interested, maybe Basilisk will do. Team Basilisk has been coercing Serral into doing like an analysis of his games, which is super insightful, but is mostly Serral saying, well, I need to make sure I don't lose too many drums, and then if I get a good economy, then I just control the infestor, and, you know, pretty standard business. That wasn't the accent, but, you know, you can't offend the Finns, right? You wouldn't know. It's hard to tell. They seem like robots until you actually listen to what they say. Which is still offensive, but... Serral actually one of the most hilarious people I've ever met. And... yeah. You won't even know it. Until you think about it. Of course, just like his strategies, the humor and the comments are always... They hit you a little bit later. But by then, it's already too late. Serral takes another front base as the SCV and Reaper conspired successfully to deny the safer third. Of course, Terrans can just build their third in the main base where it's most safest. So of less concern. It's got to be Hellion Banshee yet again. Interesting, no 3-2-1-1 outright. I guess kind of last game, but every time he's tried for the 3 command center into 2 racks, it was the 2 racks and then the 3 command center. That's a distinct difference as opposed to a barracks, command center, barracks. The Zerglings come in, but there's enough. I mean, the Hellions, and that was just... You gonna say something, Brenda? I feel like we've already talked a lot through this whole thing. What? No, don't worry about it. So, I just want to say, thank you all for being here. What? That's it. All right. That wasn't a joke. Just let people ruminate on it. All right. I don't know. Sorry. Hive mind has been very loud lately. Or quiet. I'm not sure which one's worse. Lair's on the way. Not... It's on the quicker side. Not particularly quick. No Baneling Nest. No Evo Chambers. So far, Serral's had a different strategy in every game. Like, the way he got there and the timings. I don't know how much is nature and nurture. How much he planned on initially and how much is a... 5 gas geysers at once. What? Somebody's trying to corner the market. It's a smart time. He's going up to 6 gases. Just... What is this? Cook Banshees out front. Still a lot of Hellions. Also notably, so far no attempt at mech out of Clem. The SCV, hey, come back! Very diligent about trying to repair, but... the Banshees straying a little close. And... Get off my crick! I thought you were gonna be quiet, Brenda. I lied! I don't know. Clem... Oof. That's all I got. Oof. 77 drones from Serral. I was doing, for the first time in a while, Angry Coach. Just a few days ago, if you haven't checked out the stream on Winter Gaming TV, the YouTube channel. Angry Coach for my and Serral's Well, my 33rd birthday. Serral's 28th. We share. No big deal. But, really not. And I was saying, well, Serral gets 80 drones by 6 minutes, so you can get 50 by 8. To criticize, you know, almost every Zerg player. And I was like, well, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But Serral here, not quite 80, but hit 77 drones just after 6 minutes. While defending everything. That is too much. Like, this is the most standard build so far. With, at least what I would consider the standard mid-game. The Hydraling Bane. Getting Hydras as quick as possible. You skip the Banelings if you have a good enough early game. As Banelings are just kind of a liability. Sometimes you need them, but if you can get a dozen Hydras by the time the medevacs come across, well, then you go for the Hydras. Because Banelings, ideally, the moment they finish morphing, immediately attack. That is the best case scenario for Banelings. Every second they don't, you've invested gas that for no reason. Like, if you're sitting around for 2 minutes with 50 Banelings, that could have been your Hive Tech and 3/3 upgrades. So, Clem, where is your combat shield? Sir, you are naked. He didn't even start it. I mean, Serral is on point. And Clem feels like slipping just a bit. Still, Clem slipping a bit is an existential threat to literally everyone in the game. But combat shield is not a small deal. It's not even a medium deal. It's a huge deal. 10 HP on every single Marine, essentially counteracting the stim. He just noticed. The medevacs, one knocked out of the sky, a few Marines drop over to the right flank, but again, Marines, well, I don't think it'd be enough to contest it, but without combat shield, it's certainly not. Serral's at 23 hydralisks. Wow. Gonna take down the rocks here. The Queen's getting caught a little on the edge of the creep, but... And every moment until combat shield is done is a liability here. And this is so much momentum continuing to shift towards Serral. A lurker done. Hive is on the way. Clem's maxed out. I say that, but like, Serral is maxed out with money in the bank, and the upgrades are not even going to be that much quicker for Clem. He's got combat shield still isn't done. It's done now. The Widow Mines will soften up some of the Banes, but Serral gonna arc out. I'm sure Clem knows this is coming seconds before +2, but he scrambles back. The Lings wrap around. The Marines in full retreat, completely routed from the field. Serral just collapses and drowns him in Zerg. Some Widowmine drops sent out. Serral doesn't know they're Widowmine drops. They could be Marines, but I think he's starting to suspect it. If he just loses this. Oh. Whoa! Strong gust of wind. Knock that out of the sky. The lurker range is on the way. Clem. Fungal catches. Lings around. Another fungal. The medevacs. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all gone. Everyone's dead. It's a disaster for Clem. The Widow Mine's cleaned up. Get a chunk. Need more. The lurkers. That right there? That's the GG of lurkers. You may not know it. If you look very closely, well, we'll see when Clem gets a look at it. Whether they say GG on the front. Maybe the top. But Widow Mine's dragged out into the Bio Army. Chasing it down. 3-3 is on the way, but... And the Widow Mines will connect. But the lurkers. Fungal. Lurkers burrow. Another fungal. Looks like it was. GG. The lurkers, I don't even know if they fired or sliced through a single spine. But Serral slicing through Clem for the first time in months. With, he just looked bulletproof, which is pretty literal when it comes to facing Terran. Rumors of Serral's demise seem to be greatly exaggerated. The king has returned. The finisher. And that, well, what a demonstration. Clem, clearly not his best day. But I do feel the early games, like the first few games, Serral, and with Clem winning one, Serral kind of, that it was the Hydra build. The Hydra build did it. The Hydra build where Clem's just like, what the and past the Hydra build, just fell apart. Last couple games, Serral just waltzing through, knocking down, shutting, ripping apart the Hellions and dealing with any follow-up. The Hydra is just completely threw Clem off the rest of the series. And Serral cleaned house. Thank you to Pig for another incredible tournament. This sets up the finals. A rematch of Serral versus Maru, which, if you've already seen it, hopefully you'll enjoy a unique take. If not, don't spoil yourself. I don't know if that'll be the next video or not, but thank you for watching. I hope it made your day at least a little bit better. And thank you. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our meal tier patrons, though, bringing in those extra minerals. Big Jaggy Devin, Door Kate, Mario Soup. Glad you still enjoy. And if you haven't yet, Jimmy picked out a video just for you. All of you. So check it out. And otherwise, thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. Hope to see you next time. What a series. Stay chill. He's back.